Okay, everybody come on in, grab a seat. We're going to get started. This is a big whiteboard. Todd likes to have large whiteboards on stage, I guess. So welcome, everybody. We are going to, so I spoke at Todd's New York event back in January when it was like 1 degree outside, left the comfort of Southern California and slogged my way through the snow in New York City to speak. How many of you guys were there for that speech? Okay, cool. So about 15 or 20 of you guys. So I'm going to cover a little bit of that stuff again, but I'm going to do some different things as well. And the idea of what I'm talking about today is context control. I stole the idea from Frank Kern. He had mass control. So I had to come up with this title right before this. So these slides are like really well prepared. You guys are going to be impressed, I'm sure. So I actually had the idea for this opening for this class a week or two ago. I saw, so Matt Kimberly and Chris, can't remember Chris Winfield, were having a Facebook Live where they were talking about, I don't know if they were talking about this event or it was, I think their event that they were doing together. And they were just having a blast, having a great time, right? But there was a point in the video where I had to pause it because somebody walked in, and so I paused it, and I happened to pause it right at this point in the video. And I said, holy shit, this is like the best point maker ever for what I'm going to teach at 90 Day Year. And so then I started going frame by frame through the video, and I found this good one. And then after that, I found this. Looks like he's about to tell Chris to go fuck himself, right? I mean, it really looks like that's what he's saying. That's not what he was saying, but that's what it looked like. And then my personal favorite is this one. And if you guys go to their page and look at this video, you will be shocked. You will be completely shocked that these images came from that video. And then the last one, I put this one together for you guys, is a GIF that everybody here at 90 Day Year can have. It's at clientseveryday.net/90 Day Year. I want that to go viral with the hashtag, whatever Todd's hashtag is for this event. I want that GIF to go viral. So download it and share it all over the interwebs, Facebook especially, and tag Matt and Todd in it. So that's all for my slides. That was like, yeah, that's the most slides I've ever done, just so you guys know. I know that was a whole morning's work. So I've already lost my black marker. What the hell? Oh, here it is. It's in my pocket. So the point from that is that and this is something that is happening a lot in the media these days, in the news, is that if you take a screenshot of a conversation, then you can make it be something that is totally not. Like if you look at politics and what they're doing, I'm not speaking necessarily just about Trump or Hillary or any of these people. In every type of situation, they're just taking screenshots like this out of context and making them into some narrative that they want to push, right? And so it becomes even more important than ever these days to really control the context in which your brand is seen and control the way that people see you and understand who you are in the marketplace. And how we do that is there are several frameworks, and is this 45-minute thing supposed to start? Just so I know. Okay. Well, that's why I wanted to have a. I know. I said the first 10 would be the thing. So, anyways, I guess I'll just try to figure it out. I know. So basically, and some of you guys have seen this before, but how many people here are in like the coaching niche, selling coaching of some sort, things like that? Okay, how many people are in like professional services? Okay, good. So this is really good. So basically, there's a thing that I call, it's a little harder to draw on here than it is one of those flip charts where I can like just tear the pages off. But I call this the how we buy shit matrix. Okay? And basically what happens is up here, this is high price. This is low price, as you can probably figure out. This is what I call a soft need, and this is a hard need. So what you get in these 4 quadrants is the different kind of buyers in the marketplace. So if it's a low price and a soft need, down here, I should change colors, but I got to go fast. These are things that are impulse buys, okay? And this is like a fidget spinner. How many people in here have a kid? How many people in here have a fidget spinner? Same people, right? So those are impulse buys because it's a low price and a soft need. It's just something that you want to have, right? If you have a hard need that's a low price, come in this direction. These are commodity items. I don't know how to spell commodity. I think it's 2 M's, 1 M. This is like the stuff that you buy at Walmart or Amazon, things like that, right? So you know, that's what you have here. Then up here on the top left, high price and hard need, these are your service businesses. And I'll talk about that in just a second. And then if you have a high price and soft need, these are aspirational purchases. So service businesses, this is like obviously service companies, lawyers, doctors, chiropractors, you know, people like that. So the name of the game, if you're operating in each of these quadrants, if you're a seller that's selling in the impulse market, the name of the game for you is speed of pivotability. So how fast you can jump on the next thing that's happening in the marketplace. Because fidget spinners were really hot, and now they're not, and so they're done. So if you're starting a fidget spinner business today, you're fucked, right? You got to be really fast. If it's commodity business, then you've got to have buying power. You've got to be able to be like Walmart or Amazon or these guys, and you've got to be able to like have massive distribution, buying power, and be able to make a 2% margin work, right? My recommendation, if I'm going to be clever with my markers, is don't operate in either one of these businesses, because unless you have some sort of unique opportunity that puts you in one of these, but generally I would say don't operate in those businesses. Service business, the name of the game here is credentialing. It is being, proven to be worthy by some third party, like the college that you went to, being licensed by a board, whatever. But it's interesting, in a service business, as the need gets harder, the level of context that you need also rises, and credentialing. So, like right here, let's say taxes as an example. If your need is right here on the board, then your brother-in-law can do your taxes, right? But if you're getting audited by the IRS, it's like my brother-in-law is not doing my taxes anymore. I'm going to hire a tax attorney to keep my ass out of jail so I can maintain rule number 0, which I'll tell you guys about on another day if you ask me in person, because I can't say it on stage. with them filming me. But anyways, so, but as the need gets further and harder in the service realm, you also have to build context for you to be more and more relevant, right? They need to see that you're the right person. So then the last one over here is aspirational purchases, and these are probably where a lot of us live. This is coaching, this is luxury, etc. And the whole name of the game in this quadrant is context, like the context in which the purchaser sees us, sees our product, sees our service, sees our coaching, okay? And so what that means is that your marketing needs to be doing nothing but building more context for your business, and that's what it's all about. So, now that you understand how we buy shit, the next thing that I'm going to show you is quickly, well, not so quickly, because I've got to erase it instead of do the thing. All right, somewhat quickly. Is a thing, how many of you guys have seen the context fulcrum that I did? Okay, some of you. Okay, so this is what I call the context fulcrum, and essentially what it is it is the seesaw from the playground when you were a kid growing up. So how many of you guys went to school? All right, good. You're all pawns in the government program, but we'll talk about that another day. I'm just kidding, sort of. So when you went to school, there was probably a seesaw on the playground, right? Anybody ever been on a seesaw before? All right, seesaw is not as friendly to you when you're an adult. I know that firsthand. On the seesaw, imagine that on each side, this is the prospect side of the seesaw, and this is you trying to sell your shit, right? So on the left side, the prospect has two main things that are keeping you from selling your shit. There's the disbelief that your stuff doesn't work, and then the price of the thing you're trying to sell them, okay? On your side, you have two things at your disposal as well. You have your offer, and then you have your sales ability, okay? So if you think about it, like, how many people in here have sold something online that costs like less than $100? How are you able to sell that these days? Anything, right? A tweet, a post, any sort of thing. Like when you're selling a $100 thing, your sales ability is pretty small. So it's about the same over here. If you sell something online that costs $1,000, wrong place for the comma. How do you sell that these days? What do you use? What mechanism? Yeah, webinar, video sales letter, things like that. So what happens is your price goes up from 100 to 1,000, and your sales ability usually goes up at a commensurate level with what it is. Like it's easier to make a sales page and just sell something over and over than it is to keep doing a webinar, right? How many people have done a webinar before? Are those easy? How many people think they're easy? All right, there you go. We'll see in a second. So a $1,000 thing takes a webinar. If you're going to sell a $10,000 thing, how do you sell that? A phone call or an event, right? So what you're doing is, if you're selling a 10K thing, the sales ability has to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So you have to ultimately have the U side of the seesaw be like whatever this is plus one, because the seesaw has to go down and they buy your shit, right? So the name of this game is that context, the way they see you, is the fulcrum on the seesaw. That's why I call it the context fulcrum. I know it's clever naming conventions, right? So the way they see you in the terms of this offer is the fulcrum of the seesaw. And so everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Kevin? This is like completely not making sense. So let's make this a little more practical for you. How many people in here have ever been to the gym before? All right, good for you. So imagine the guy at the CrossFit gym. We're going to call him, muscle Larry or whatever, right? He's got abs and he's got big muscles and all this stuff. Imagine that Muscle Larry here is trying to sell you a $20,000 program to his CrossFit gym. What would he have to do to sell you a $20,000 program that you're going to buy from him? Guaranteed for life. Okay, there you go. What else? Well, could he sell it to you via a sales page, or would he have to sell it to you on a phone call, or would he have to sell it to you in person? In person, right. So he's going to have to be in person. How long would this program have to last? At least a year, right? Is Muscle Larry here going to be able to have somebody else train you, or are you going to be working with Muscle Larry? Muscle Larry, right? So it's going to be him, his blood on your spots and everything, right? So how often are you going to be able to get with Muscle Larry? Whenever you want. Oh, that sounds great for him. So, so as you can see, that's right, Larry's going to be your bitch. So his sales ability has to be high, and he's got to offer you his fucking life for you to give him $20,000, right? So that, that's pretty interesting. Imagine if the person selling you the thing was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay? Anybody in here get the Charity Buzz emails? He just had a Charity Buzz thing where you could come to his house for an evening and hang out with him, and the thing ended up selling for $65,000, and there were hundreds of bidders all the way up the spectrum for the thing. If it's Arnold Schwarzenegger selling you a $20K package, how could he sell it? With a tweet. That's right. He could say, work out with me or come to my office in Santa Monica. It's going to be $20K, and he'd sell it as many as he wanted with a tweet, right? What would the offer be? Would he be with you for a year? Would Arnold be hanging out with you? Or as much as Terry wanted? No. Wasn't it you, Terry, that said as much as you wanted? Or was it somebody behind you? Yeah. That's right. I don't think Arnold would be hanging out with you as much as you wanted. It'd probably be like half a day or something like that. And it'd be as much as he wanted. So in this realm, Arnold's context is so great that the fulcrum slides all the way over here near the prospect. Now, I know that this is getting into advanced physics for you guys. But if you imagine what a seesaw is like with the fulcrum all the way over here on the end, you just have to touch it for it to go down and the sale to be made. And that's because the fulcrum's been moved over here to the side. Now, let me give you an example of the other way. Now, here's an interesting question, too. Today, in 2018, which one is probably more qualified to help you get in shape? Arnold Schwarzenegger or muscle-bound Larry here who's in the gym every day? Probably Larry, but he is not seen in the same context that Arnie is, right? So now, what would it be an example of if the fulcrum was over here? Would be like if Kevin said, I'm going to try to sell you guys a $20,000 membership to my gym and all this stuff. There you go. It wouldn't matter how fucking much I promised or how good my sales ability was or anything. I probably couldn't lift that seesaw, right? And so this is the thing. This is the context. This is the real power of this thing, okay? And so you're saying, all right, this is great theoretical, ethereal shit, Kevin. How in the hell do we do this, right? So I'm going to tell you guys how to move the context fulcrum from, so let me ask you this, and this is like always an interesting thing. Where do you think your fulcrum is right now for the prospects that see you? Now, we always believe that it's in the middle, But if you're being real, you're probably more like me trying to sell CrossFit, right? In your world. Like if somebody sees your marketing or sees your stuff, are you so highly regarded in your realm that someone would say, holy shit, man, they make an offer and it's just a lay down, I'm going to buy it. That is the job that we've got to get to. We've got to move that fulcrum from wherever it's at for you right now over and over and over. And I'll give you a practical example. One of my clients for our agency business, a guy named Todd Moore, we've been working on this for over a year now with him, with this content that he's putting out. And we've sold a lot of stuff through the last year. But in the month of February, we ran no conversion ads at all, 0. The only ads we ran were to videos, and none of them had a call to action on them. Do you guys understand what that means? There was no opt-in for my thing. There was no leave a comment for this. There was nothing that we ran ads to in the whole month for that. We spent $5,800 in ads, which if you guys know for Facebook ads, I know for some of you guys that seems like a lot, but we were spending 10 times that 6 months ago. We spent $5,800 in ads and did $340,000 of new generated sales from people reaching out to him and asking him because they had investigated deeper about his programs. So there was no webinar. There was no anything. The context fulcrum has been moved so far to the left in people's eyes by the content that we're putting out that they are seeking him out and laying down. Now, how do you think the sales conversation goes when someone says, hey, I want to join your program? And that's their Facebook message to you. That's right. It's like, actually what he has is he has a full-time chat girl now because at any given time he's got 50 to 75 Facebook conversations going of people who want to work with him. So he's got a girl in the United States, a girl in Australia, who their full-time job is to just get these people signed up. And it's pretty powerful when you're not asking. So one of our concepts in this is we give publicly and only take privately. So we're not making any offers. We're not having to coerce people because I think as time goes on, the arbitrage of running like efficient webinars and all those things is going to be harder and harder and harder because if you're willing to pay $51 for a sale, somebody's going to pay $52 and then $53 and then $54, and it's going to all go away. But if you're building more context, Arnold is Arnold in the fitness world. Nobody can fucking take that from him. Now, if it was a marriage retreat that Arnold was running, he might not do so well, right? But in the fitness world, he's a giant. And that's all you need to be, is a giant in your little world, okay? So what we do and how we do this is we build, our model is like the 3-circle Venn that you've seen Todd do. Ours is clarity, campaigns, and context. And the context piece is the long-term piece, but it's all done by the content that you put out. And I'm going to teach you guys like one of the real key pieces of content that we work with. But basically, the 3 types of content that you need to be putting out to build context for yourself. One is character content, and I'll explain these. The next is credibility. And then the third is connection. So the character content is how many people in here watch the Marvel movies? Anybody seen those? Okay. So if you notice, one of the coolest things about those movies is that the short-term battles that they fight are really just a delivery vehicle for the story within a story, which is the story of the hero. So like I always tell the story of Tony Stark and how in the first movie you find out, his backstory that his dad's an asshole, right? And you're like, this is why Tony is a, petulant prick, right? Because his dad was such a jerk to him. And then you find out in the second movie that, wait a minute, maybe his dad really loved him. And then the third movie, you find out that Bucky killed his parents. And so every movie, the battles, like, you kind of forget. Like, What was the second Iron Man movie about? Do you guys remember the story of the movie? There you go. The story of the movie was Mickey Rourke was the Russian guy who claimed that his dad, that Tony Stark's dad had stolen from his dad, and he had the whips and all that stuff. So you forget the battles, but you remember the origin story of Tony Stark. You remember the mythology that's being created around that character, Tony Stark. So this is the character piece that you're going to be building for yourself. You want to build out your mythology of your thing. The credibility stuff, there's a bunch of posts that we do for that and connection. But since I've only got 17 minutes here, you guys want me to show you how to do a character piece for yourselves? Okay. Is this like, you guys getting this? Is this, okay. I know I'm not like trained like Todd and all these guys. I don't have a pink jacket. I do actually. I do have a pink jacket. I was so fucking tempted to come out here with a pink jacket just to fuck with Todd, but I thought, it would have been fun. But I couldn't find it. So with your character, there's lots of things that you want to do, right? But one of the main, like you want to talk about your superpowers, your weaknesses, your kryptonite, all that stuff. But one of the most powerful things that you can do is create your mythology and your backstory, okay? And there's this thing that I call the 5 dominoes. And I call it that just because it sounds cool. But it could be any number of dominoes. But what these are 5 pillar stories that you are going to make up and tell about yourself again and again and again and again. These are like canonized stories, like books of the Bible. These are the books of Megan's Bible that you want your people to be able to tell these stories as good about you as you tell them yourself. And like if you think about, like how many people in here are like Tony Robbins people? Any of you guys? You can probably tell his stories as good as he can, right? Like like about his childhood and what he had a tough time there. You know about him working for Jim Rohn and all this sort of stuff. So your 5 dominoes, these are generally speaking, people have usually 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 key pivots in their life that have brought them to where they are now. So if you think about it, like in your life, if you start where you are now and work backwards, you probably have, like how many people here are still working in their first career that they've ever chosen? We've got 2, okay? You might only have 3 dominoes. Sorry, I'm just fucking with you. Make up 2 more. But like it's very rare today that people are in sort of like, go to college, get a degree, do what they did for their degree their whole life, right? Usually what happens is you try something, you hate it, then you become a mortgage broker, then the fucking mortgage meltdown happens, and then you got to figure out a new gig or else go live with your parents, and that shit is depressing. So, and you have these dominoes of how your life has changed. And you think that a lot of times we are ashamed of those things, but those are the most powerful conversion tools that you have. Because when someone is looking at your product or service or coaching, they are in that exact place most times where you were. Like I was talking to a client today, and she's telling the story. She has a mixed martial arts dojo that does 7 figures a year in business. And she was 6 years ago, was living with her and her husband, who had been married at that point for 15 years, were living with her parents because their building company that they had had since the year 2000, or no, not the year. They'd had it for 10 years. Yeah, so since the year 2000, for 13 years, at their peak, they were building 2,000 homes a year in Texas. Lost it all, lost their house, lost everything, and moved in with her parents. And she her husband happened to have opened a jiu-jitsu gym as a hobby, because he was bored with all the money they were making as builders. And it was his stupid hobby, and that was the pivot they made that now takes care of them. And so we worked on her dominoes story, because think about how powerful that is to a gym owner today who is in that same situation, right? It's like if they are in that situation and they see her 3 dominoes down from them, are they going to pay and buy her $20,000 coaching program? What do you think? She sold 2 of them today, so take a guess, right? They're going to do it. And it's the same thing with your stuff. So your dominoes, what you need to do is start with where you are now, and then start working backwards to every key thing that's happened in your life to bring you to this point. So I'll give you some personal examples. Like, I live in Newport Beach, California, have a few companies that I own. I own a golf course. I know it's crazy as shit that I have that, but there's all these things. But I grew up in South Carolina, and my father was a machinist and never made more than $35,000 in a year in his life. So to go from there, and so my first domino in my story was my dad's best friend bought a golf course. And I learned how to play golf at this golf course, my dad was helping him, and I was helping out and everything, became a great golfer, played college golf at the #1 school in the country at the time, and happened to meet a stockbroker who worked for Bear Stearns. I worked at Bear Stearns for a bunch of years and was there in the early 90s when the internet actually was happening, started. I was there from 92 to 97, and that was when we took Netscape public, all these big companies, and I said, holy shit, man, this internet thing is the opportunity of my lifetime. So in 1997, I quit that and started my first internet company and sold a few companies, did a bunch of different things. Then I was semi-retired for a bunch of years. I was playing golf all these days, 3 days a week, and fishing 1 day a week, and playing with my kids. And then back in 2014, my buddy owned a drug rehab and offered me an obscene amount of money to come out of retirement to help him figure out sales and marketing for his drug rehab. And because of that, I ended up getting suckered into having a few other clients, and that's where I'm at now. So, so literally, that's my story. But here's the powerful piece of this. If you canonize your story to where you have it really wired tight, then what you do is you can have multiple sub-stories underneath it that you use to teach the points of your thing. So the fact that I worked at Bear Stearns, just telling people that, it's like that has a little value, and it has value that they know I did that. But then when I tell them a story about when I worked at Bear Stearns and how when we worked there, I made 1,000 dials a day, every day, because I had to make 100 contacts a day, every day, and we had to get off 10 pitches a day, every day. And when we made those 100 contacts, we had a qualifying script was, hi, I'm Kevin from Bear Stearns. I trust you've heard of Bear Stearns before. The reason for my call today, I simply want to send you a press packet about what we're doing in the market. It's burned into my soul because I said it so many times. But the reason for the whole thing was there was one question that we would ask these guys in this whole dialogue, which was, have you ever done this before? And they were like, what do you mean? Have you ever bought stock from somebody that you don't know on the phone like this? And if they said no, it didn't matter if they had 10, 20, $50 million in the bank, the card went in the trash. If they said yes, then they were a player, and we would call them back and pitch them a stock. Now, what's the value of that lesson? Well, I could use that lesson in 20 different ways in my business if I was coaching people on how to do sales, on how to qualify, how to understand their business. What's the one question that you should be asking everybody in your business that always qualifies your people, whatever. But the power of this is when I tell that story and it's under the Bear Stearns domino, and I say, you guys know I worked at Bear Stearns, right? And you say, right? And then I tell that story, then you've learned a little bit more about me. And then the next time I tell a Bear Stearns story, when it's coming in your feed, are you more likely or less likely to stop and pay attention and listen to that story? More likely, right? So if you have these 5 dominoes, like for me, mine's golf, Bear Stearns, early internet, semi-retired, and then the one now is, I call it suckered. And so when I tell any story underneath these things, I always tie it back to this big domino, and this is my mythology. Like as people are able, like Kisma is in one of my groups. Have you heard some of these stories before? Could you tell some of these stories about me probably? Yeah. So it's like, yeah, Rob's got a lot of stories. No, they're part, yeah, they're not part of this, but they probably will be in my mythology one day, right? But the point is this is like an organized way to control the context in which you're seen. And it's like a lot of people do this naturally, but they just sort of shoot a lot of shit at the wall, right? Like Gary Vaynerchuk, brilliant guy, but he's just like flinging shit at the wall every day, and he covers everything. But I mean, he does. Like he has D-Rock following him around, filming him when he's about to take a shit, right? It's like he's like the Eminem song, every part of his life is being recorded. Now, for most of us, yeah, there you go. For most of us, that's impossible, or certainly not desirable, right? To have that level of intrusive, videography of our lives. But if you are smart about it, what you end up with when you do this, if you have 5 of these dominoes, is you'll end up with probably 25 stories that you're able to have, and these will be posts on your Facebook wall. And then with your advertising, what you do is you take those 25 stories and then start running ads to the people in such a way that when you bring a new person into your world, how many of you guys have an email sequence that you use as a nurture sequence to warm people up? Well, that's what this is. This is the ultimate nurture sequence through your life and your story through Facebook posts. Does that make sense? And you can run ads in such a way that if you have these 25 stories canonized on your Facebook feed, this has got to be on your page, not on your, you can put them on both, but definitely to run ads, it's got to be on your page. But you can run ads and have people, once they've watched one video, then they get to see the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. And that's what we're doing with Taki, where we are just running those kind of ads so that people can just watch these videos. At a certain point in the process, usually about 12 or 13 videos in, they're just raising their hands and saying, how do I work with you, dude? I mean, how powerful is that? How much better is that than having to feel like you've got to justify your value or sell them on your shit, right? That's the power of this stuff. So that's all I got. Anybody got any questions? Yep.
So when you start the video, do you start talking about the pillars and then go back and do the sub-story?
No. What you do is you don't tell everybody these are your pillars. This is just your thing. And you say, a lot of you guys know that I live in Newport Beach, California, but would you ever believe that I came from South Carolina, from a town of less than 20,000 people? How the hell did this guy get from a tiny town of 20,000 to Newport Beach, California, and then I tell my golf story? And I don't have to, and here's another thing that's a real key with this, is with your pillar stories, you don't ever teach. You're just like letting them into your story and your life. So this doesn't have to become a lesson. The lessons are the sub-stories that are underneath your pillar stories. Does that make sense? So I would never say, here's the 5 pillars of my life. Pay attention to number 1, 3, and 5 because those are the really good ones, or whatever. But once you define these out, these are the turning points. Like if I hadn't ever learned to play golf, I probably wouldn't have met the guy that worked at Bear Stearns who was making $2 million a year. And if I had met him otherwise, he would have probably said, "Yes, I want fries with that," or something. The only way I would have ever met that guy and had him respect me enough to want me to work for him and offer me a job is because I had this skill that he wanted that I had that I never should have had because of my upbringing, right? It was just like this sort of serendipitous group of events that led to that. All of us have these dominoes in our lives that bring us to where we are, and so those are the magic pieces of your story because somebody is sitting in that same situation and thinking, can this work for me? And if they see that you were like them, then they'll want to do it. Does that make sense? Well, you don't have to tell them in order. As a matter of fact, it's better. The first thing you got to do is get them down, and then you will figure out naturally when you should talk about different ones. So, Jeff?
So you're basically using this as a lens in order to create content, right? Can you add like case studies? Is that like part of the later pivots, and that's like how you show clients wanting to work with you kind of thing?
So there's the 3 levels. There's the character, credibility, and connection. This is just like the first one. This is all about you. The credibility stuff you usually we'll do collaboration. We'll do collaboration and case studies and things under that pillar of the thing. So that's under the credibility part.
So from a Facebook ad standpoint, you can feed people these ads, and then you can basically create custom audiences of percentage of videos watched, and then feed them like a credibility ad or a connection ad. Is that like
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
That's like higher level shit. Am I supposed to buy something from you so I can learn?
That's right. Well, so that's the power of it is that you only we only make offers to people that are like 10, 15
like
levels
further along in the
Yeah, they like already want our shit. They love us.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Where can we get the info on how to do the credibility and connection stuff the way you broke down this character stuff?
So I had a page. I'll send it to Todd. I had a page from the New York one that had some of that stuff on it. So I can give that same page. I don't remember the URL of the page, but I'll give it to Todd before today's out so he can blast it on the screen. Is that what it is? Okay, clientseveryday.net/Todd.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep. So, right here.
Do you have any recommendations for using this sequence if your business isn't built around you personally? So I run an e-commerce brand and we do workshops with community groups. So we still do use storytelling, but my own personal story isn't woven into it as much.
So this is specifically for people who are the brand themselves, kind of, personality businesses. But how I would adapt this for e-commerce and things like that would be to create a much simpler, it wouldn't have to be nearly this complex, but I would try to create a much simpler story. Depends on a lot of things, like if your brand has lots of products versus, small amount or whatever. But like Patagonia has this same thing for their brand, right? It's like Yvon Chouinard wrote a book about it, Let My People Surf, So you can build the same thing about an e-com brand. Tom's Shoes, right? They have the same type of story structure selling their e-com stuff. So you can certainly do it there. It's definitely not as probably, 5 levels deep as this to do that. Yep. Anyway, there you go.
Wow, that's awesome. Hi, so how long are the videos and why would people care about my life story for 25 emails?
For 25 videos?
Yeah.
Well, they don't. Like most people don't watch your shit, and they won't. But the person who watches 50% of your first video, that person gets to see your second video. If they only watch 10% of it, then you never show them the next video, and they just move on and watch cat pictures or whatever they do, you know? Or, you know what I mean? Most people don't give a shit, right? But you only care about the ones who do, and those people become, like Taki, with the ads that we ran, we spent $5,800. He made 14 sales at $20K and 40 sales at $1,500 for a course. So out of, like for video views cost like a penny to 3 cents a view. And so $5,800 divided by like maybe 2 cents is a fuckload of video views to get, 54 people to take action. But yeah. Well, and ultimately, like the deal is when you start this out, you like there's a reason that you're gonna tell this story. Like with like you're not gonna be running these ads just to the general public. Like, what's your business?
I help women awaken their inner goddess and find true love.
Okay, so then what you would do is find the inner goddess target, whatever that is.
Entrepreneurs and corporate, usually professional women.
Okay, so what you would do is have, like, in other words, you don't start this process with like video number 1 of your life story. You try to hit them where you think they are, but you're going to evolve your story as you go through, right? And each one of these, as they've watched, like right now, the sucker one, domino of my thing, if I were to run a thing like that, I'd probably run something like, as some of you guys know, I run ads for Taki Moore, and he's like a famous dude in this place. Did anybody know that he asked me for 3 months to do it, and I told him no for 3 straight months because I didn't want a client, And then I would go into that and do this whole story about how I got pulled in by the drug rehab. And that's an interesting video for people to see, and it gives them a little bit of backstory on me. And then when you go from that, you would go wherever you want to go with it, But you got to meet them where you think they are now with the story that would be appropriate. And some number of them will be interested in that, and then those people get to go deeper into your video funnel.
Perfect. And how long are they?
Varies. I mean, how long does it take you to tell the story? It's not like 1 minute, 32 seconds. I mean, we've had some of these videos that were as long as 30 minutes.
Got it.
So I wouldn't say that you need to do 50% video views on a 30-minute video, though. So
Thank
you can
you.
do less, like probably 25%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great job, Kevin. It was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. I have just a simple question. The price point for the program, the guy you said had 2 women working on chat. What was the price point for that program?
$20K.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. All right, guys. I guess that's it. Thanks so much. And talk to you soon.